Hey, this is Brandon Crawford from the San Francisco Giants, and you're listening to TortureCast.
You're listening to a podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants.
Let's go, Giants!
With hosts Willie Dills, Chad King, Ben Lee, and Eric Nathanson. Dedicated to the greatest team in Major League Baseball, the San Francisco Giants. This is TortureCast.
Standing on time, not gonna stop. We came to play, ain't slowing down. Falling on, we're here to stay, and we're stomping on whatever's in our way. I'm feeling like a Giant tonight.
It's Monday, August 22nd, 2016, and this is episode 110 of the TortureCast, the podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. We have three fans. Well, we're still fans right now anyway. We might linger on for the rest of the season. I'm your host tonight, Chad, and of course online tonight we have one Ben Friedley. Ben, how you doing?
I just really wanted to bust out because of what I've been doing this whole weekend. Just want to be this week. Legends will be made. Dreams will be broken as the Los Angeles Dodgers defend the division title against the San Francisco Giants at SummerSlam at Brooklyn at the Barclays Center.
Please make that.
It's really tempting, isn't it? Just like Hunter Pence, just like stunnering like Clayton Kershaw. I've been trying to catch up on the not lesser but junior brand of the WWE NXT. So if anybody didn't know that I was a total wrestling mark before this episode, welcome. It's new. It's weird for me. It's great. So I caught up on. It's almost as bad as baseball, except that they do it to you on purpose because it's scripted. But I spent the last week catching up on 3 months of the NXT show, and then watching the live special, and then watching the WWE live special SummerSlam today over the course of today. And just, I had a dream last night involving it was real bad. We're just not going to go there. Let's talk about baseball, guys. Can we just, baseball's good. Let's move on.
Well, SummerSlam may be a little bit more relevant, if things go a little bit more south. But also
there's
joining
not a lot of
us.
slams this summer.
I have a SummerSlam memory, and Ben, if you're a wrestling fan, so you might know if I'm right that I think it was
new one. So.
Oh, okay, because my SummerSlam memory is from 1988. Miss Elizabeth took off her skirt, distracted somebody, and helped out Macho Man and Hulk Hogan, I think, to win some doubles match. So what is it, tag team match? Or something like that. I think it was the first SummerSlam. They designed it because some title had to be, won, and it gave them another pay-per-view event or something like that. So I get the wrestling.
Exactly
I don't do it anymore, but I totally get it. It sucked me in for years.
Yeah, it's just that's funny to me because that is exactly how they used to use the women all the time. Whereas this time there were actually two women having a real match where they actually wrestled, and it was awesome this year. So, and then another one with 6 women that also actually wrestled, and it was still awesome, but not as awesome as the first one. So, I mean, things have come a long way, and it's great.
Yeah, that's the day and age. Yeah, that's the day and age I remember watching wrestling in. It was about the 90s I lost it.
That's fair. I've kept up much better on my baseball over the years than I have on wrestling. I just got into that last year, so I can't really stake any.
The whole wrestling thing passed me over. I just never ever got into it. But
it had for me until last year when WrestleMania was at Levi's, and I went, they're in my hometown, and I had been learning a little more about it because I have friends that are really, really passionate fans of it. And I went, all right, fine, I'll check this out. Over a year and a half later, so that went uphill for me at the same time very quickly. Anyway, speaking of things that are booked strangely, let's
Yeah. So anyway,
the baseball writers are really off their game this year, and
so obviously the Giants have been in a bit of a slump. That's putting it mildly, and we have as well. So we do want to apologize, because we are paid millions of dollars to do this job.
You could say that we babipped ourselves last week because we actually we got a real strong hit in.
So last week was a bad one. I put it out there that it was a little bit of Dodger fairy dust or something like that, but we actually talked for an hour and didn't hit record or something. So we lost last week's podcast, and it was a good one too. At least you should believe us that it was good.
Yeah.
It was
So.
it was a
Best one ever.
not bad plus. Is there a way that we can blame Yasiel Puig for this? Can anybody find one?
I want to.
We'll
Down
come
in
back
the,
to that.
The AAA clubhouse, doing
Right.
Instagram or whatever. He
Or whatever.
somehow.
Well, they're
cut out a
trying to
recording
give him
short.
away
Snapchat.
or something like that.
Yeah, pretty much.
Snapchat.
But no, we want to apologize for that, and we just couldn't get it together for the rest of the week. We have we technically have 4 of us, but we really have 3 of us that we try to, organize our schedules around, and it just doesn't happen all the time. It's hard. It's hard. Schedules are different. We're 3 time zones apart. It's the way it is. But thanks for hanging with us. We didn't slump because the Giants are slumping. It really was just coincidence. But I will say this: the last time that we recorded, the Giants were in first place, and they are no longer in first place. And we need to talk about this. We need to have
In
a little
fairness,
bit of,
though, can we just point out
Yeah, what's
that
that?
the last time that we actually recorded, the Giants were that we attempted to record, the Giants were still in first place, because that has somehow miraculously held up, even as the lead has gradually, dwindled
That is
its
true.
way
Yes.
from up 6.5 to now down 1.5 game at this point.
down
Not
one game.
1.5, just a half. Oh, I may be looking at the stats as of yesterday.
The Dodgers won today in Cincinnati.
Yeah, it's a game.
One
It's a
game.
full game.
So it's a full
One
game.
full game.
Yeah. Ben, you want to hear this? The Dodgers won 19-8 or 18-9.
Yeah, they only hit
Good.
7 home runs.
No,
Gonzo hit 3 of them. Whatever.
That's
They
fine.
went-
Get it all out of
they
the way
went-
before we have to face them tomorrow.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's
That's
going to
good,
be a
right?
big surprise. The big thing is they give up 8 or 9 runs. Think about that. Bumgarner's not
They
giving
did.
up.
They gave up
18.
9 runs, and they faced Homer
Right.
Bailey. So what are you gonna do?
Right.
That's in
They're not
fairness. Homer Bailey was a name at one point where we would have all gone, they did what off of Homer Bailey? So, okay, good for them. I mean, it's hard to say to look at any of the members of our starting rotation right now, though, and point to them and say that guy's not going to give up any home runs right now, though. What usually it's more like that guy's not going to give up any home runs for the first 4 innings. It's kind of where we're currently at.
Well, I mean, let's be fair to Samardzija. Like Sunday night, he pitched
Oh,
well.
Samardzija
And
was amazing.
Syndergaard just pitched better. I mean, the Giants had weak contact all night, and it was one of those days they just got beat. It was the series against the Mets, splitting that wasn't as bad as getting swept by Pittsburgh last week.
That
after
hurt.
that game against Baltimore. That was the killer of the last week. Giants
You
should
know-
be in first place.
You know what's funny is as rough
that was
as
a
it's been for us, I think that was the first series that we've been swept since the All-Star break, with the exception of the first one out of the break, the Padres, and the 2-game series against Boston. Every other series, I think we've actually had at least one win against the teams we were facing. In Miami's case, and we actually had 2, which is surprising. But we've had at least one win in every series except for San Diego coming out of the break, and Boston, which was a 2-game, so fair, and Pittsburgh. Given 3 games or more, even in this terrible stretch that we're having, the Giants always win at least one. And that, I think, is it's one of those things where you go, not quite good enough, but good thing you had a stellar first half. And that's the reason that we're as close as we are, is that they're not just dropping every single game, but they are dropping the majority of them. And they're not playing 500 ball, but they are playing enough ball to keep things a lot more even than we thought that they'd be by this point. So, I mean, that may just be me searching for optimism in what can be otherwise kind of a bleak wasteland of second half. But, it's the perception is so strong that we have lost every single game that we have played that we forget sometimes to go back and look and say, actually, we've played like 333 ball. It's not great, but when you have to look at the entire season at the end of the season and say this is what we did the whole year, to be able to look back at that and go, okay, well, if you put the first half and the second half together, you're going to come close to .600 or .550 or whatever it is that it takes.
Yeah, that a
close
playoff
to
team's got to be at least 540, 550, something around there.
You gotta play better than
the elite
500,
teams over
absolutely.
600. Yeah.
If you can win a division playing 500 ball, everyone in that division needs to get fired. So that's fine.
Well,
but
That's their division this year.
I remember
that's true.
at the All-Star
You're
break,
not wrong.
we were all riding high, obviously.
We're
We
at
knew
6.5 games. You
I
damn right
think,
we were.
well, yeah, the best team in the majors. We even surpassed the Cubs at that point. I think all of us recognized there was going to be a correction of some sort. There's no way they were going to play over 600 ball the rest of the year. This team is not going to win 100 games. It's just not going to happen. But that being said, I remember tweeting out, and I looked it back up, given their record at the break, if they played 500 in the second half, they would end up with 93 wins. Now, I think a lot of us thought, they're going to probably play 500 or better and maybe end up with 94, 95, 96 wins, and that should be enough to win the West.
I was willing to say they would play 500, but it didn't feel like it then. Like it was so easy to get swept up in all the optimism.
It was exactly. I was
destroying.
I thought that was worst case scenario.
They had an 8-game win streak during the first half at one point.
And they had 4 games in a row going into the break. They had won 4 in a row. So they were hot. They were hot. And I think a lot of us thought, 500, that's like a dire prediction. There's no way they're going to be fine. Now, obviously they're sitting at 11-23 for the second half. Which is 324 ball. It's the worst in the majors. And the thing is that, they have 38 games left. They're not going to finish the second half at 500 unless they go on an incredible tear. They have to play 12 games over 500 over those 38. So they're 12 games over 500 right now.
28.
After the entire, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. They have to get another 12 games because they were 24 games above 500. They've lost half of that amount. They're now only 12 games up. So they have to go back to that, 12 games above 500 the rest of the way. They're not going to do that. So they're not going to hit 93 wins unless, again, they get incredibly hot. So I think this is going to be, unfortunately, an 88, 89, 90 win team. And it kind of concerns me, obviously. I think for me personally, and I think a lot of fans would agree with this, they've gotten a lot of the hard teams out of the way. Unfortunately, they were swept by the Padres, which really hurt. They were swept by Pittsburgh, but they're kind of around now, you could say.
They've taken a dive. They've
Giants,
lost 4 straight. They lost 4 straight after
the Astros. That's true. Yeah. So it tells you how great the Giants are right now. You have the Cardinals biting at the heels of the Giants now. And so if we're talking a 2014 scenario in which the Giants at one point had an 8 or 9 game lead, and then LA went on an incredible tear, like they won 40 out of 50 games or whatever it was historic. There was nothing the Giants could do about that. And the Dodgers won the division by 8 games. Of course, we all know what happened, and they won the World Series. This year, however, it's incredible because the Dodgers haven't done anything to get first place but barely play above 500.
Yeah, they're not that good.
No, the Giants have, literally handed it to them. Handed it to the Dodgers.
Like
the
on
Dodgers,
a platter.
On a platter. The Dodgers are 18-15 in the second half. Okay?
Make even a token effort, and you will be able to take this division. Nah. Okay? But really, though,
I've been joking with some of my Dodger friends going no, you have first place. No, you have first place. No, you have first place. It's been frustrating as hell because out of all of the seasons the Giants have had the ability to win the West, this should have been the season they should have locked it down and just crushed the Dodgers. And they've completely 100% failed at that so far in the second half. Now, they still have 9 games left against the Dodgers. And I got to say, guys, that with being 1 game back with 38 to go, they got to win 6 out of 9. Do you agree with me? Given the rest of the schedule, the Dodgers still have a slightly easier schedule than the Giants. They got to win 6 out of 9 against LA. I don't know how otherwise they're going to do it.
What is that? That's a 3-game swing right there for the Giants, which is what they need to get over the hump of the Dodgers right now.
Yeah, well, and the problem is if you look at the two, did you see the 2 non-division teams that we still have to play for the rest of the year? It's the Cubs and the Cardinals.
And the Cardinals, yeah. And that's
right.
Rough. It's going to be 4 at home against the Cardinals and 4 in Chicago, and that is going to be a doozy of a series, I tell you.
They get 3 against Atlanta after they go to LA this week.
Oh, that's right.
So they get a nice little break real quick at home here against a crappy team.
Yeah, but
true, but we would have said the same thing about some of these other teams that we lost to
like
over
the
last.
Padres, and others.
Yes.
It's
in fairness, we do face the Padres 2 more times, and I think that if the team is at all beginning to warm up, and we have had some indications at times that they are just maybe beginning to warm up, he said, because hope springs eternal, we could take 4 of 9, 5 of 9 from the Dodgers, and still, like, if we were able to get a little bit of a rampage going on the rest of the division, we stand a chance. But at that point, what you're doing is you're getting yourself into a position where you have done enough against the Dodgers, but you are still trusting in the Dodgers to muck it up. And
yes, and that absolutely
they're
can
doing the
happen.
same to you is a problem, which absolutely can happen. So
the
I would agree
Dodgers-
that 6 9 is better, but
Well,
Yeah,
they don't
but-
face as many winning teams. Like the Giants, they also face LA, the Cubs, and the Cardinals are the only winning teams they face. LA, it's the Giants, the Cubs, and then the Yankees. Oh, and they get Miami. That's the thing. The Dodgers have to still come across the country and fly to two different cities without a day off. In the middle of a stretch where the Giants get to play San Diego at home before playing St. Louis. So, like, there's a chance where they can, jockey it, make up that game or two if they don't win the 6 and they only can take 4 or 5 from the Dodgers.
The farthest that they're going is for Chicago, and beyond that, everything is on West Coast time.
Yeah. 38 games left. They got
Sorry,
9.
West Coast or Mountain because of
So they
Colorado.
got basically they got a quarter of their games against the Dodgers. Isn't that's pretty
Yeah.
remarkable, don't you
And
think?
well,
29 out of 38.
27 are against the NL West, and the Dodgers also have 27 games against the NL West. So they basically
27
play
includes,
the same division.
includes the
schedule.
Dodgers, right? Obviously, they
Yeah.
Well,
include
yeah,
each
it
other
does.
for those
But
9
Well,
games.
yes.
I think they each play each team twice.
Right. So they have
in
the
the
same
division,
amount of
not-
NL West left other than the
Right.
other teams. And, of course, like you already said, they have 3 against Atlanta. They have 4 in Chicago, and they have 4 at home against St. Louis. And that makes up the rest of it besides the Arizona, Colorado, and San Diego, which, I mean, they're well above 500 against those teams. They need to mop up. But, again, they were 9-0 against San Diego in the first half. And they opened the second half, and they get swept. And 9-3 looks great, but getting swept by San Diego does not look great. So these are the teams they need to pummel right now. But I thank God that the baseball gods, I should say, that the Dodgers are only 18-15 in the second half. Can you imagine if they went on actually some sort of hot streak? I mean, the Giants could be 5 games back right now heading into LA. So
Oh, for sure.
I think
I mean,
this
we
is
have-
actually the best news that the Giants fans could hope for because, they're just playing like absolute shit out of 30 teams. They have the worst record. I mean, who could have predicted being the best in baseball to not being the worst for a week, not being the worst for 2 weeks or a month, but for so far the entire second half? I mean, it's really remarkable.
Let's be fair about this Mets series. They actually look like they came around. I know they got shut out last night, but as I said
Samardzija,
before,
though.
Syndergaard and Samardzija, they both were good. And
yeah, they
Samardzija he didn't make many mistakes. He looked like he was pitching better. He moved the ball around well. But the offense came around the other 3 games against the Mets, and it seemed like they were starting to click and get that keep the line moving mentality going again. The middle of the order seemed to, I don't want to say crank it up, but like with the way Spano
There were
got,
signs of life.
Yeah, they really started to get the engine going again.
Yeah, so, the 11-23 is bad. I do have a little bit of silver lining here, like you just said. The offense is getting going. And you look back at a good half dozen games, I would say at least, in the second half so far, that really should have gone the Giants' way, and 9 times out of 10 would have. You have the balk-off. You have the 3-run home run against the Orioles, right? You had the sweep of the Pirates and the game before that, which included that walk-off home run. You had 4 games in a row in which the Giants had at least a 2-run lead in all 4 games, and they lost all 4, including a 4-run lead and a 6-run lead. And if you say, okay, given those 6 games, let's say you win 5 of those normally throughout the year on average, they would right now be 16-18. And suddenly it doesn't feel so bad, right? They're just 2 games under 500 for the second half, and they're 4 games ahead of the Dodgers.
So what you're saying
But
is that the
that's-
baseball gods are fickle.
But that's also what hurts, right? Because those are games that
They were
didn't
in reach.
They didn't get blown out 10-0. It wasn't like, oh, just chalk this one up to just,
Well-
these happen. Those are games they should have. Every single one of them they should have won. But even if you say 5 out of 6, they should have won because every team blows a game here or there, no matter what. It just happens. I mean, it's gone so bad and so unlucky and so south that this record is really unfathomable to believe. It's really hard to comprehend.
Well, what's messed up is if those were October games, we feel like they would close them out. that we wouldn't expect like the meltdown. We'd actually expect these games to be closed out the way this team's been in October.
Yeah.
You know how you say like there was a few different, they had leads. They would have won those games with they had 2-run leads. Like I firmly believe if they have their full team intact, they win those games where they have the 2-run leads. Like the team they have going into this Dodgers series, it's like the most complete health they've had for
Like almost the whole second half. Just,
right
wow.
a big time. So it's got to be the time to turn the corner on this. It's got to be. It's got to
That's
be.
what
I
makes
mean,
the
it can't
first
not-
half to me even more amazing, and I think a lot of Giants fans actually have to count their lucky stars because the Giants were missing Hunter Pence and Joe Panic and these guys for many weeks. And we had all of these reserves coming up, and they were more than adequately filling the roles.
I mean, for a minute, we were applauding guys like Grant Green.
Yeah. I mean, think about
Which, in
that.
fairness,
They
I
had
was
the-
actually really happy for the guy.
They have
But
the best record in the
like-
major leagues with almost the half of the first half missing like 3 or 4 or 5 of their main guys.
key guys, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, think about how many guys are going to get a World Series share now. That's pretty cool.
That's true.
Grant Green's going to get a World Series share potentially.
Yeah, Ramiro Pena, Ruben Tejada,
Uh-huh.
Vin
And-
Mazzaro.
No matter how much the Giants have been missing these guys, we have Brandon Belt, who still, I mean, he leads the world, and well, I shouldn't say that. He's like 5th or 6th in the NL in OPS. He's having a good year, but him and Hunter Pence right now in August during this whole streak, although Hunter Pence has heated up, during this Mets series, but even including those stats, he and Brandon Belt lead the National League 1-2, both respectively, in strikeouts for the month of August. Teammates lead that. That's not good. During the sweep in the Pirates, Hunter Pence
When you
struck
put it
out.
that way.
Yeah, no.
But we're
14
leading something, guys.
in the Pirates series. He struck out that whole 6-game series, the whole homestand. He struck out 14 out of 27 at bats. I mean, it's stuff like that where you just kind of go, damn. And I don't know. Have you seen the spray chart of Hunter Pence and where he swings for the past 2 weeks?
No, but I bet
They
it's
have-
a lot of pop flies to right field.
He has swung at more than 50% of pitches outside of the zone.
Yeah, he's so jumpy lately. He's
Yeah.
like afraid that he's not going to connect with his pitch when it comes, that he's trying to make every pitch his pitch. And by doing that, he's like pulling off the ball. So when he does make contact, he's popping it up or tapping it over a little bit.
Well,
He's not even
that-
making solid contact.
That infamous meme from last week where he looked like Cthulhu.
Yeah.
That was outside of the strike zone. He got a hit, but maybe that's why his eyes opened up so much. But yeah, he's been swinging like that lately.
Could have been surprised. It's true.
Yeah, he was like, "Oh my God, I got a base hit out of that."
I did it. How?
But yeah, he's been kind of outside of the zone. Belt has been just, slumpy shoulder, McCrutchin, lately. I mean, he's just striking out and just like, oh, I struck out again.
He has 47 strikeouts in 33 games since the break.
Mm-hmm.
That's
It's not
ridiculous.
good. It's not good.
It's
This is
weird though
not
because
Tony
he has
Gwynn.
26 walks and nobody can touch him there. So he's
Yeah,
all or
walks, he's
nothing right
fine.
now.
He's all or nothing. So
He's all or nothing. What was it? He seems to he's like hot. He's or not. And when he gets moved to the 3-hole, he like screws it up, and then he drops back down.
Yeah, I mean, do you guys think? I mean, because Posey, he also has not hit a home run in over a month, and he's considered their best hitter and probably one of their best power hitters. That doesn't mean he's in a slump, but homers are needed, guys. Like 53% of runs in the major leagues are scored via the home run. The Giants are well below that. It's it's not like hey Posey, hit more home runs. Okay, I didn't know that. But have you guys noticed anything?
You guys, we found the key.
Yeah, we found the key. Backspin on the ball, elevate.
If we only hit more home runs, why, we'd fix everything.
You
By
know
the
what
way,
the
that
key
does
is?
sound like a can-BR call. I'm just saying.
Well, there's guys like Mac. Mac's only played 14 games since the break, and he homered 3 times in 31 at bats.
Yeah.
That's 1 every 10 at bats. That's a pretty damn good thing. They need more hitters like that if they can, but they don't have room to put them in the lineup.
He's like a
And-
Dave Kingman or something. It's like
Right.
strikeout or home run,
Well, that's what I think. That's what I feel like Belt is because
Basically, we need to hire
He's-
Jack Cust.
Yeah, there you
Just,
go.
yeah. Well, I mean, nobody's hitting either. That's the thing. I think Crawford's home run production went down. Remember, he felt like, he could. I felt like he was an MVP candidate at the All-Star break.
Oh, he was.
And now it's, he's hit 2 home runs since then. He's got 8 doubles. That's good. He's driven in. Oh, that's 7 doubles. Sorry.
Oh yeah, for a shortstop, he's doing great. But yeah, he's definitely tailed off.
Yeah, but he was the meat and potatoes for a while. It's the Pence. If Pence comes around, I feel like everybody else comes around.
That's what I think needs to happen right now. I think a lot of people are pointing. The pen was really struggling there for a while. It just seemed like, because like I just cited those 4 games in which they had leads, they've actually had leads in 8 games in which they've lost this half, and that's rough. You're not going to win 100% of those games. Other teams will come back on you, but you should win more than half of those games easily. And they lost 8 of those games, and so it's been really rough. And I think a lot of people have put a little too much pressure on the pen because it feels like the pen has been the majority at fault. But like Henry Schulman last week tweeted out that this was as of a week ago, so it's a little bit older, but the pen has allowed second fewest runs in the league in the second half, and they haven't had a horrible week in terms of the pen, so I don't think this has changed that much. 4th lowest batting average and 2nd lowest OBP. Of course, Casilla, he has the balk-off and the 3-run home run, but before that or after that, he still had saved 15 out of 17 games as far as the continuum is concerned. So it's not like he's been blowing every save. The starters right now, I think everyone can recognize the starting pitching hasn't been that great. But they're 10th in the NL in ERA for the second half. That's not good. And, of course, hitting-wise, they're near the bottom for the second half. So this really is a trifecta. I mean, the bullpen hasn't been, I think, as bad as the perception is, but they haven't been great. Starting pitching certainly is in the bottom half, and the hitting has been in the tank. So it's really hard to look at just one thing, and that's when you have 3 things, it's a 3-pronged kind of sport. When all 3 things are going poor, this is when you get 11 and 23.
Well, the thing is they're not all going poor at the same time.
So it's like what the old
I
adage
feel like
is,
we're scattering it around.
If something
Right.
can go wrong,
It's totally
it
Murphy's
will go
Law.
wrong, right? Yeah, I totally agree with you. That's what it feels like.
Certain
It
amount
just
of
seems like
Murphy's Law
you'll have one
in
game, you
baseball.
get blown out 10-0 because you can't hit and you can't pitch and your bullpen blows it. They are sprinkling it around. I totally agree with that. And that's what really kills it because you have one game where starting pitching is on, hitting is, okay, but the bullpen blows it. Another game, starting pitching is horrible, hitting is really good,
The
but then
bullpen
the
just
bullpen
nails it
blows
down.
and they lose
Oh,
10-9. This stuff has been happening all second half. It's unbelievable. But you got to look at every game as a microcosm, and these guys are professionals, and they got to be able to take care of business. But it's really hard to fathom that they are the worst team in the second half out of 30. I mean, I would have said, okay, bottom half maybe, but
Well,
not the worst.
One of the tough things though is you start missing because we're so mired in paying attention to when they do poorly right now because you're almost like you're both simultaneously jaded and hypersensitive to when they're doing badly right now. You end up missing some of the spots that like show promise for us getting better, like Law having a really decent streak for a while of looking really good, or Guerin coming
the
back.
one time he blows it cost the game. Yeah.
Right. Well, and that's the tough thing is
Random.
like you could say the same thing about like Casilla actually had a really strong streak of save opportunities for a while, but everyone's going to remember the balk-off. I mean, that was my problem for a while is I kept thinking of that whenever Casilla would get on the mound, and it's like, it's like looking at the bullpen and then looking at the fans staring at the bullpen and just going, "Who hurt you?" Like it's just there's that sense
you dropped
of,
as a
like,
child. Yeah.
You get gun shy about the parts that have hurt you, and the problem is that the entire team has hurt themselves at some point.
Well,
and
it's been
that sticks with you even when parts of it start doing better. It's hard
because the starting rotation and the bullpen have both been inconsistent in the second half. You get this Twitter feud, which is hilarious, or it's been entertaining.
No, the
to
starting
me.
pitching's worse. No, the bullpen's worse. No, the starting pitching's worse.
No, it's been things like now. I think we all can agree that Matt Cain was left in too long his last start, where it was hit batsman, walk, hit, sac fly, out, 2-run home run on McCutcheon. I mean, that was like pen. Anyone in the pen? But my point is that the games where, like, say, Cueto and Samardzija have maybe been left in too long or even bum, people criticize that, and that's what cost the game. And vice versa, where someone was pulled out to some fans' interpretation a little
Right.
too early, and then the pen blows it, and they say, "Oh, well, it's the pen's fault." It's one
Right.
of those things where you
can't win for
you're never going to
losing.
be perfect. Yeah, you can't win for losing.
Yeah,
Right.
it happens every time. It's Monday morning quarterbacking. It's second guessing.
Yeah, but some
You
people
know,
really
and
do
it-
speak as though they are Moses
The
sitting on
authority.
the rock with the tablet. I mean, it's like, come on, you don't know more. You do not know more than
Thou
Bruce
shalt not
Bochy.
leave Matt Cain in after
Yeah.
4 walks.
Yeah, you want to know what's funny?
It's not a bad commandment, actually. But
well, Kane, and now he's on the DL, and Peavy's going to come back and take his start on Saturday.
Ah.
He'll,
Ugh.
Peavy will take the start against Atlanta
sorry, I
on Saturday after they come home after this quick little trip to LA.
PB has shown
And
nothing since
the
he's
other
been
thought
with them.
about that is it's already August 23rd tomorrow. I want to say today because it says August 23rd. Like in the show notes, it says it's Monday, August 22nd, and for the
Yeah.
life of me, I couldn't figure
You're
out.
recording a day
Why
in the
does it say
future.
August
It's amazing.
22nd? It's the 23rd. Oh yeah.
oh, I've been doing that all day. Okay, it's nice to know it's not just me. I keep being like, all right,
No, it's
so everyone that
really
I'm meeting with
August.
tomorrow on Wednesday. Wait,
No,
ah,
Ben, it's really August 23rd where I am. My
right.
computer.
Oh.
Right. So I was
Yes.
looking at it going,
Ben
what the
got
heck? But my point being with
Red
that
Nation.
is
Guys.
September is right around the corner. They're going to expand the rosters.
Mhm,
So PV
mhm.
might only need to be used once in a spot start while Kane's on the DL. They might be able to finagle it so that he only has to do the one time because it's not going to be much different from Kane because Kane hasn't been hitting his spots at all the last few starts.
No, that was really unfortunate because he had only given up one hit through 4. He looked
Yeah, he looked good to
magnificent.
start. I tweeted it. I said this is the best he's looked this year, and then he
Yeah.
fell apart.
He completely fell apart all at once, and it's that bad luck thing where maybe he really did have a lower back strain, and that's what caused his inability to find the strike zone. But it was like, how do you retire the first 12 batters of the game and only give up one hit? It was a dribbler to the pitcher, by the way, so it was kind of a lucky hit. And then suddenly hit batsman, walk, single, sac fly, out, and then the 2-run bomb. I mean, it was just, if he scattered that around, maybe only 1 or 2 runs would have been scored off of him. But, you bunch it all up, and it's 6. And that's the way it's been going lately. I don't know. So do you guys think that, I mean, obviously they were talking about skipping Kane's start before he went on the DL to go into the LA series, and when he went on the DL, it was kind of a moot point. So, are you guys kind of optimistic about the fact that we're going to have 1-2-3 going into LA, as opposed to 5-1-2?
I mean, it's better. Given that
all
there's
you're
going to be
doing is
9.
You're just swapping more for Kane, right? That's essentially what it is.
Well, I mean, and having 9 games against the Dodgers over the course of the second half, I guess it's because we are going to be there, I'd rather have the 1-2-3.
Mm-hmm.
But it's hard for me to get incredibly up in arms over pitching rotations if all 5 are kind of firing, and when all 5 are kind of scattershot as it is. It's hard to be like, yes, I am much happier having those good. Mostly I'm just kind of like, okay, well, so we didn't have a necessity to try and throw PV in Los Angeles. That's probably just as well.
Yeah, no, I think so too.
Well, the thing, look at these matchups. It's Bumgarner against Maeda tomorrow, and then it's Cueto against Rich Hill. I mean, who the hell would have
Right.
thought? The Dodgers have started
still
they've
weird.
had 25 starting
I know,
pitchers,
but
and
they're
they've
having
had
success.
well, yeah, and then Thursday is Matt Moore against To Be Determined, and I don't know if To Be Determined has worked on his curveball lately, but the matchups lately.
To
the
Be Determined
matchups
has
for
a tendency to
this is
throw
not
outside,
A typical, This isn't a Giants-Dodgers series. It's not like a normal series.
Yeah,
We're going to see a completely.
always
We're going to
faces
see
the
such a
Giants.
different team the next 3 days than we're used to seeing in these Giants-Dodgers matchups. Their
Puig, no
lineup's a little
Kershaw,
different,
yeah.
right?
Um,
It's not the same cascade. Seager now. Utley's having a great stretch right now. He really had a great road trip in Philly and Cincinnati.
Josh Reddick pulled a Affelt with room
Yes.
service.
Yes, he did.
So he's
And
out.
so it's a
Oh,
different
okay.
team. I'm optimistic. I love that they bumped Cueto, and Moore up. And I like Moore. He'll come
No,
around.
I
He's
like
just
that they
dealt some
bumped
shit
everyone up
strikes
too. So I think
But-
we should talk about that. I think that's the elephant in the room, the elephants in the room that we have not been able to discuss yet. I mean, they
For a minute,
traded.
you said elephants in the room, and I wanted to mention Josh Reddick, but sorry, not a thing anymore.
Oh, I think the elephant he
that was
means
weird.
is Skeeter.
Oh yeah, no, he's
Uh-huh.
as big as an elephant.
Hey,
Absolutely.
hey, no size shaming, guys. That's really mean.
No size shaming. I haven't heard that before. I like that.
Ron would agree with me.
Love me because I'm beautiful. So yeah, Matt Duffy. My God, talk about a fan favorite. I mean, this guy, he hasn't single-handedly won any World Series. He hasn't won an MVP. He's only been with the team for a year and a half.
But we didn't love him solely for his prowess at the plate or
And
his.
it wasn't just for that, exactly. It was his personality, his ancillary social media endeavors, his Skeeter, all these other
cat.
things.
Right.
His cat.
All the
didn't
apocryphal
you-
stories about McGeehee and
Yeah.
like the bits about like how bad he felt for coming in.
Yeah,
And
he
stealing
wrote
somebody's
in the
job
Players
and-
Tribune, and
Oh, that was such a good article.
it was such a good article. And I think we were, we went down and we interviewed him
That's it. I was going to mention that.
in his first week up in the bigs. And I should dig this up and post it on the site, but
Yeah.
he had barely been there, and he had a double in this game, which added on to the lead. It wasn't the game-winning RBI, nothing like that. But we went down, Willie and I, and we were kind of like, who do we interview? And everybody was crowded around. I think it was Gregor Blanco that night was the key to the game, so everybody was crowded around him, and we didn't want to do the whole, let's just crowd around this one guy. So we went over to Matt Duffy, and he was just getting dressed. He was just by himself, and we're like, oh, he's a rookie. He'll talk to us. Sure enough, we went up to him. We said, hey, Matt, can we ask you a few questions? And he was like,
Me?
me? Yeah, it was like Scooby-Doo. It was like, me? I was like, what? Okay, sure, yeah. And he was surprised, cordial, excited, engaging, all of these things because he's so young and such a green face on the team. I miss that attitude and that freshness on the team, and I think a lot of the players do. In fact, Hunter Pence and others have said we miss this guy. We do, but Matt Moore and others are fantastic. Will Smith, but I don't know if that's lip service or not, because I think with a clubhouse, you can't say, oh yeah, we really love Matt Duffy. Oh, this new guy, we don't know him yet. He's not that great. He isn't super talkative. They're going to say things like, oh, yeah, no, he's a great personality. He's a great fit in the clubhouse. It's like, dude, it's been 3 days. How do you know?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, some guys are Michael Morris, and you just know.
Well,
But,
that's
like, it's
that's
hard
true.
to say.
I think everybody knew Michael Morse was. he
I
was,
think Pence knew Michael Morris was going to be fit in right away.
he was
but
incredible. But
One of the things that's really been weird about it too, though, is as Giants fans in the last 5 or 6 years, the closest that I think we've ever come to losing an everyday major league ready player, the closest was losing Zach Wheeler.
yeah,
And Wheeler was none of those things, other than
None.
close to major league ready in theory, maybe. But we haven't had to kind of go through the trauma and grieving process of losing a player who is not only major league ready, who is not only a competent fielder on a team that has a pitching rotation that needs competent fielders, who is not only a part of World Series winning teams, but who is homegrown, who we got to really say, we saw you come up and grow up with this organization, even though we didn't get to see it for that long. We haven't had to go through that process of saying, but we just lost you. We had gotten used to looking at our like full-on homegrown infield, especially whenever any of our homegrown pitchers was on the mound, and to look at that and say, that's us, that's this farm system, that is what this team's scouting system has done. And all of a sudden you look at the field and you're like, well, I guess we can say that whenever Connor Gillespie shows up, even though we kicked him out for a while. And like we just haven't had to go through this process. And it's
for me
weird.
personally, as a Giants fan, I cannot remember a trade that I questioned so much since Jeff Kent.
Yeah, Matt Williams.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Because now, granted, Matt Williams had been with the Giants much longer than.
I mean, Duffy was
Duffy.
with.
I'm still
the
not.
big club
I'm
for, like,
still not
5
over that.
years.
So I can't grieve for Duffy. I'm still not over trading Matt Williams.
But obviously, it did work out, I'd say.
Yeah, it did.
in terms
Sure.
of, for the
And
Giants.
we have the benefit of hindsight as well.
We do, and we don't
I-
know what's going to happen.
I
but-
liked Jeff Kent too, but
No,
sorry.
of course. Well, no, he was. If it wasn't for Jeff Kemp, they wouldn't have been in the 2002 playoffs, and obviously he hit over 300 home runs with the Giants and all these things. But
Yeah, but in fairness, I like Matt Moore too. But I mean,
Matt
okay,
Moore-
lately it's been a little bit tougher. But I like Matt Moore, and I have liked Matt Moore for a while since he was
I think this is the distinction that people need to understand, is that this is not a Carlos Beltran rent-a-player. Okay,
Right.
So we didn't get Will Smith and Matt Moore for less than half a season and traded away these valuable assets. The reason we had to give up Matt Duffy is because the Giants have contractual control over Matt Moore through 2019. So
They
have
got
an
options on like 2 different years, right?
Right. So he's going to be on the team next year, as is Will Smith, and the year after that. So I think fans need to kind of reserve judgment. And like you just said, we have hindsight with the Jeff Kent deal. We need to reserve judgment for this. Now, Carlos Beltran was a different fish because that was like, this is all we have. We got 2.5 months with this guy. And he actually...
Right, it was a rent-a-player that we threw away Zach Wheeler for, and at the
Yeah.
time that hurt a lot. It
hurt a lot, and he
I
performed
never
well.
understood that. I never understood that because the Giants just won it all in 10. They thought they had a shot to win it all in 11, and if they win it all in 11 and go back to back to deliver 2 titles for the first time since they had won, in the San Francisco era, nobody's going to care about that trade. What are we, 5 years out?
Yeah.
I think it's one of those that they went for it and they had to. They felt like they had a window. It wasn't like 13 when they knew they could fold in the tent. It wasn't like last year where they kind of hung on,
No, and
a little less.
I didn't think that trade was bad at the time. I really was upset to let go of Zach Wheeler, but as it turns out now, obviously with Tommy John surgery and his ineffectiveness so far, I mean, he has plenty of career time left, but
Hopefully,
But I mean,
now,
the thing about hindsight, though, is, I mean, you really get, like, the perspective that we have on Jeff Kent and Matt Williams now is so different being removed from it. I mean, like, look at, if you really want to trade that felt like it was a huge deal at the time, that we've really got some perspective now. Look at Freddie Sanchez and Tim Alderson.
there you go. There's another
I mean,
one.
that's like
That's
the
a
ultimate
huge
in.
one.
It was huge at the time because Tim Alderson was a massive prospect. He was one of the best that we felt like we had. And shortly after trading, he blew himself out and fell off.
Yep.
And Sanchez came over here and was stellar for a good, like,
2
years.
years. Yeah.
And then
It was just
blew
enough
himself out and fell
to
off.
win, 2010. So, I mean,
And,
we
like,
needed him. Yeah.
it's just
3 doubles.
and I mean, in
Yep.
fairness, like, we weren't
Would have
as
been
attached to
4 if it wasn't
Alderson.
for the scorekeeper.
Yep.
By the way.
We weren't as enamored with Tim Alderson as we were with Matt Duffy because we didn't see him every day. We didn't know his personality. He was a prospect, but it was a deal at the time that all of us looked at and went, "Oh, I mean, Freddie Sanchez is good, but Tim Alderson." And then you turn around like the next year, we're winning the World Series with Sanchez hitting like 292,
Yeah, but
and
looking
you're like, okay. But still, and the hindsight you get is so much more drastic a few years out that it's
always is.
hard to separate the feelings from the results when there aren't any results yet.
Looking at the trade, of course, right now, because we don't have hindsight, I think a lot of Giants fans sentimentally are very upset about the trade. Matt Duffy's done amazing things for the Giants in his short tenure, but objectively, you do have to look at the fact that what I just mentioned. Number one, Matt Moore is going to be under contract for 3 years under the Giants.
Yep.
And he's a valuable lefty. And he hasn't quite shown it yet, but I truly do believe that he's going to be a very effective lefty for the Giants. A good number 3, a good number 4.
Yeah, I would have
that's
pegged Matt Moore's like kind of upside as like even in this rotation potential number 2. Like he was that good.
Potential.
For a while.
Oh, yeah, he was that good for a
Absolutely.
while. And so, with the insecurities of the Giants starting staff over the last few years, you can never have too much starting pitching. We all know this. And plus, we need another lefty to complement Bumgarner. Number 2, Matt Duffy, although he was great last year and the half year before that, this year he started out very, very slowly. Very slowly. He was not effective at all. Then he got injured. So it's one of those things where people are like, oh, if we had Matt Duffy, we would not be 11-23 in the second half. No, I don't buy that at all. Not at all. He just came back with Tampa Bay, and I know he started off pretty well. But it's really weird to think about where we were just 2 years ago, thinking about re-signing Pablo Sandoval and going, who's this Matt Duffy kid? Can he take the reins? And, of course, we all, last year we're like, oh, yeah, he definitely did. And now we got rid of him. I mean, how quickly things change. And now we have Edward Nunez playing third base. I mean, it's like,
well, but
wow.
Do you have to, without the benefit of longitudinal looking back, do you have to evaluate this trade at this time in the context of getting
No.
But I mean,
There's no context
because
I didn't even finish my question.
There's
go
one
ahead, sorry.
context. Yeah, there's one context now. And
No,
another.
Ben, shut up, don't talk.
You don't get to talk, Ben. You can't have opinions. Don't cut a promo on me, guys. I'm talking about, do you have to evaluate this in the context of trading for Nunez first?
See,
like,
that,
of saying
that was
that
important to
Nunez...
finish that.
100%.
I get
I
it.
told you guys.
No,
Nunez's
absolutely, it
defense
was
at third
important for
base,
that,
even though we
yes.
didn't give him credit for it at first because he started out rough, as he's adjusted, he has made some killer plays at third base. And so to be able to say how much off his butt twice in 2 consecutive bats, to look at that and say, well, if we felt that part of Duffy's strongest part of his game was, and most consistent, was defense, have we in fact lost that from this trade in and of itself? And the answer is getting back to no. It started at yes, because Nunez really had a rough first couple of weeks, but it is making its way back to, we are still in an average 2+ defender system at third base, and that is what we needed. Because as much as it's nice, it's weird and also sort of nice having Conor Gillespie come back and make a little bit of an impact, he was not the third base answer.
No.
And Eduardo Nunez has and had and still will have the potential to be the third base answer, at least in the short term, if not in the long term.
No, I agree with you. I think that if they had not been able to pull off the Nunez trade, they would not have traded Duffy. I think that just gave them the insurance they needed because they had Gillespie and Nunez.
Yeah, and I don't think they did it with an eye to trading Duffy, but I do think that changed the trade landscape once there were 2 usable third basemen on the table.
No, they said that Tampa Bay they went all in and they said Duffy or nothing. You got Matt Moore for 3 years. This is not asking too much. This is not a rent a player. We want Matt Duffy, and they had to go back and think about it, and then they realized that it was going to be a very tough emotional decision. I mean, that they didn't want to trade Matt Duffy, but they had to look at the numbers and the longevity of the contract and the next 3 years, and they realized that it was probably worth the risk because, they're getting a starting pitcher. I mean, most of the time, a good starting pitcher, even though he only pitches every 5 days, is going to impact the team more than, let's say, an average third baseman. So, I mean, I think that's what they're kind of weighing there. I don't know for sure. We don't know what Matt Duffy's going to turn into. We don't know what Matt Moore is going to continue to do in his career after his Tommy John surgery, for sure. But we're going to know because Matt Duffy's locked up with Tampa Bay and Matt Moore's locked up with San Francisco. So we're going to see and be able to compare 2 years from now.
I'm very curious to see him against LA on Thursday. I think this series is the turning point for the chance to either turn away and not think about certain foibles in the Duffy trade and the and the ups and downs of the past month and a half. I really feel like if Bum can go out there and set a tone, they could be in first place in 2 days.
This is the series where we either straighten up or spit into the wind.
Yeah, it's entirely possible.
No.
I mean, the thing is and I didn't mean to cut from Duffy. I have no more. I'm gonna miss that guy.
I'm all tapped out on emotional catharsis.
Right.
No, I know. I think we all did not want to lose him, to be honest.
No, I mean it's good. Oh, the one thing that stuck out about that story when you first interviewed Duffy was that Blanco. Everybody was around Blanco because that would never happen this year. Anyway.
Okay.
Unless there was like a clubhouse fight, right?
Yeah,
I get it,
right,
yeah.
or a fire, and he's the only one that got out alive. It's. This series right here, they have a chance to just like be like, okay, that's cool that you guys think that you're still in it, but not really. Like Cueto's going to be. We have our top 3 going. The Dodgers don't even know who the F their top 3 are.
Yeah.
They have no idea if Kershaw, who has started to throw on flat ground, I believe I heard. If they do not get Kershaw back, for enough outings, they don't have what they thought they had coming into this, and this week could be the chance where if the Giants, can take 2 of 3 or even sweep through LA, they could springboard off, and maybe they could go something like 25-13 down the stretch and be 12 games over 500. It could absolutely happen. Matt Moore coming around and stop walking people, that would be a real big key, because that's been the biggest issue with him, and part of it is he's gotten clustered strike zones. The umpires that he's gotten have just been horrible for his style of pitching. And if Samardzija can, not leave the ball in the middle of the plate, other than that, the 5th starter is not going to matter as much. Not with expanded rosters in a week.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Samardzija was, I don't think anyone saw that coming. 6 innings of no-hit ball against the Mets. Again, we're talking about this timing thing, right?
Yeah.
If he had done that in any, and I mean any, of his other second-half starts, he would have won the game. But
and you know what?
He happened to do that against Syndergaard, who shut the Giants down, and they lose 2-0. I mean, this is the thing. They're losing 10-9 or 2-0. I mean, they just any little thing that can go wrong will go wrong. The timing has been horrible this half. They haven't been. They definitely have been outscored, but they haven't been outscored by as much as the expectation would be for an 11-23 team. That's definitely for certain.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the thing, Samardzija did the thing. He did the thing that happens to guys throwing no-hitters. He gave up a hit. He lost his concentration for a minute and gave up a really big hit to the next guy. And it's like almost hard for me to even blame him, because you got to feel his adrenaline changed. His biochemistry changed in the moment that Granderson got the double against him. And so he might have tried to overcompensate, or he might not have known he was overcompensating, because he was like just spot on for the rest of the game.
Yeah,
he was being efficient.
Even the rest
he was
of the
working
game.
his fastball up in the zone. He had one at bat. He had one sequence against Syndergaard where he walked Syndergaard. Thought I was pissed that he didn't just put him away, that he was farting around and nibbling and stuff like that. But other than that, he was getting the ball. His fastball, people were chasing it because they thought it looked good, and then it exploded past them. So he did the thing, though. You know what I mean? Guys do the thing. They give up the hit and they lose concentration, and suddenly, boom, there goes not only the no-hitter, there goes the shutout, and
everything falls right apart, and
right,
the massive mid no-hitter collapse.
Yep. I mean, we see it happen all the time.
There were 7 hits in the game by both sides. I mean, it was one of those games where you appreciate it as a fan, but again, the timing is bad. The Giants, when they pitch well, they don't hit. When they don't pitch well, they hit, but still lose by a run or two. I mean, that's just the way it's been the entire second half.
If Shark can keep doing that, that's going to really help. Having him slot down to the 4th spot and going lefty righty now, instead of just being Bumgarner as a left-handed starter going up and down the lineup. Yeah. With Kane being out, and even when it was just sending Peavy to the bullpen, and that's why I think Peavy deserves a start Saturday. He was a champ. He took it like a champ going to the bullpen. He's been a gamer.
He did. So what do you guys think about Will Smith? I mean, he's been this elite late reliever with Milwaukee. Numbers have been very, very good, and he comes to the Giants, and I know it's still again relatively small sample size, but his ERA is in the double digits. What do you think is going on? I mean, it's loud contact with this guy. Lefty on lefty, doesn't matter. I mean, he's getting hit hard.
I mean, we haven't really heard a lot about him as far as personality background. Like all the focus has really been on Matt Moore. I think Will Smith, like the talent doesn't just disappear because you change locations or like the. Some people have had, we've seen it before, a tough time fitting in. Even Hunter Pence had a rough time creating an impact after he was traded for a while.
Yeah, before the playoffs, he was actually hitting.
He was
just below 200 with the Giants.
Yeah, he was about as cold as you can possibly get without being at Candlestick. I mean, like there's something to be said for like not everybody in a trade makes an impact right immediately, and you want them to. You always want them to because that's what you trade for them for. But if we are looking at this trade as a look to the future trade, then like if Will Smith clears things up by next year, it's not the worst thing.
No.
If Will Smith clears things up by like early to mid-September, it's the best thing. It's
like the Jeremy Affeldt replacement.
But
that's exactly what he is. He just needs to settle into that role too. He may not have been used specifically like that by other managers. He might have just been a loogie, and we have a loogie. So
we need somebody that can go in innings.
We have a loogie. Yeah, no, he's like an Affeldt who he can pitch against righties or lefties.
So when he settles down and he finds his Jazzy Jeff, he'll probably be pitching better for the bullpen.
I wasn't expecting a Jazzy Jeff reference.
I know, that was a good reference.
His name is Will Smith. I got to find something. Everything else is used. He pitched in Miami. He gets jiggy with it.
Get jiggy with it. Yeah.
I respect that.
I'm going back to Miami. Yeah.
I had to go deep. I was going through the lyrics trying to come up with something, but
you've been working on a Will Smith.
I mean, his ERA is smell you later. I don't know.
Smell you later.
Oh God.
I haven't heard that one yet. Good job, Eric.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Okay. All right. Well played. We're off of that, but well played.
So are the Giants going to be in first place the next time we meet and talk?
So I'm going out to sea Wednesday morning, but I'm coming back Sunday night. So Monday night still is technically available. So yeah, let's think about this.
Will they still be first, or will they be first in a week? Let's ask.
It is 3 against LA. And three
against Atlanta. Okay.
So 6 games,
and,
right?
And LA has 3 against the Giants and 3 against the Cubs.
That's a good point. Where
in
is
this
it?
context,
it's in LA.
It's in LA. Okay, so I'm thinking my conservative. I really do think the Giants are going to win 2 out of 3 in LA. So that would tie them, right?
Right.
Then 3 against Atlanta. Again, I think 2 out of 3. So that's 4 out of 6. Now let's think about LA. They're tied going into the Chicago series with the Giants. I do think that they're going to lose 2 out of 3 to Chicago. So yeah, I think the Giants are going to be 1 game up by next Monday. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think so too. I think they'll be in first place by Wednesday night. I really do. But I think they'll at least be in first place for our next podcast. I think the Dodgers are going to have a tough time with the Cubs. Cubs keep hitting. They won tonight. Apparently they don't stop hitting. And
they're playing like 750 ball in the second half. They're stupid.
Yeah,
they're
just ridiculous. They lost a series, a 3-game series for the first time this past weekend in Colorado.
You know what they're going to do. They're going to go in. By the way, they're of course. I should mention this. The postseason projections on MLB.com, they are literally they don't list them as 99.9%.
Oh, they're 100.
They list them as 100%, which is funny to me because mathematically
they're
not locked up yet, right? So how can the postseason projections actually publish 100%? It should be 99.9, right? I
think they know that there's not going to be a nuclear explosion. So
I'm just saying, if it's mathematically possible, it should not be 100% because it's not 100% hypothetically. So the math dictates that it can't be. Anyway, point being, they are. Sorry,
I'm super amused. But anyway, scientists, guys,
do you not agree with me?
No,
you're right.
Do I think they're going to? Of course, I think they're going to. Then there you go. That's
correct.
it. That's it. Just factually. That's it.
But the Cubs are a lock. They're 100% lock for the postseason.
Of course, I think if they did this 1,000 times, they'd do it 999 times. But that's not 100%. It's not. It's
I don't.
99.9%.
What you're saying is that you're really upset that they're rounding
Anyway.
up on 99.95.
Yeah, I know. Oh, totally. It's fun.
No, it's fun. No, but going on that,
Chad
of
doesn't
course,
like thing.
I don't know what algorithm they use. I know they use like strength of schedule, how many you have at home, what your recent streaks have been, and of course overall record. I don't know how they weight it, but it's insane to me the fact that the Giants are only one game behind the Dodgers, but the Dodgers are favored to win the NL West 63.9% to San Francisco's 36%. Now, that one game is not that different. If they were tied, because they have been tied, the difference was still like 20-25%. And it's based on strength of schedule, how many home games, and all those things like that. Do you guys agree with that? Do you think that the Dodgers essentially have a 2-1 chance of winning the West over the Giants?
I think the issue is you do have to look at how the team has played more recently because,
Yes, no, absolutely. That's what it takes into account in the algorithm.
Right, and I think that if you are looking at that if you are considering these playoff predictions to be a reflection of how the teams are doing now extrapolated to the end of the season, yeah, actually I would say right now it looks like the Dodgers have a 2-1 chance of getting into the playoffs ahead of the Giants. Do they have the chance to turn that around after looking at the series against New York and kind of getting a feel for what some of the bats are starting to do that we weren't seeing in the last 3-4 weeks? Maybe. Are we going to look back at these and see that maybe the difference is like 10%, like a week down the line? I can hope so. But, you're only, in baseball, you're only as good as what you've done lately. Not what you're doing now, not what you've done the whole season. You're only as good as what you have done lately. And no fan base is,
1993 Giants were so good.
You're right. And when these teams have met in the last 15 years, none of those players are still on the team anymore. Like a couple of the coaches might be the same. Barely. Brian Sabian's still around. That's
Where's
about
Brian Johnson's home run?
right. That proves everything about how resilient this team is. No, it tells you how resilient the fan base is, and that's good. It's we can put up with a lot sometimes. Mostly we pretend we can't. I think that you have, if you're being honest with yourself and you're saying that a postseason prediction is based on what have you done for me lately, yeah, the Dodgers are 2-1 right now.
Yeah, and plus the strength of schedule and all that stuff like that.
Screw that. I totally disagree. Screw
go
that.
ahead, Eric.
F
No,
that
tell
thinking.
us.
You know what?
Tell
Screw
us.
that. I don't think the Dodgers are going to even make the playoffs.
Whoa.
I think it's going to be St. Louis and Miami in
I'm
the
gonna-
wild
I'm
card.
gonna
I think
interject
the
right
Giants
now.
are going to win the division.
I have
What
to
do you
interject
think
right
the
now.
30% is there for? To prove all
okay.
them wrong. We have to be underdogs or we don't do anything. Have you seen this team?
MLB.com, okay, has the Dodgers at like 91% of making the playoffs, and the Giants at 81.8%. Now, what's funny about this is that on July 17th, even after they just started the slide against San Diego, it was their highest percentage chance of making the playoffs over the entire year. It was predicted the Giants had a 97.8% chance of making the playoffs on July 17th. Now today, it's down to 81.8%. And like I said, the Dodgers are at 91%. So Cardinals are at 40%, Eric. So you're saying that Dodgers at 91% aren't going to make it? Cardinals at 40 are going to make it?
Okay,
No.
I was totally disconnected there the whole time.
Oh, my God.
I'm not even kidding you.
That was a long diatribe.
But I want you to be kidding because it would be so much better.
I
my
know.
God.
I totally missed.
That
All right,
sucks
wait,
on so many
The
levels.
last thing I heard was according to MLB.com, so I know it was at the start.
Oh.
Oh, Chad, you got interneted so hard there.
Interneted trolled.
Interneted. You have been trolled by the internet.
You said you needed to cut in, and apparently the internet gods felt that I needed to be quiet too. It's been retrieving the things.
They shut you up. No, what I was saying, and everybody can hear this now again a second time. The Dodgers, you said, are not going to make the playoffs, and the Cardinals will. Now, as of right now, The Dodgers are listed as a 91% chance of making the playoffs. The Giants are at 81%. The Cardinals are at 40%. Now, on July 17th, MLB had the Giants at their highest percentage chance of making the playoffs throughout the entire season. It was at 97.8%. It was higher than the Dodgers at that time. And, of course, it's plummeted to 81.8%. So what I'm asking you is, even though the Dodgers are at a 91% chance of making the playoffs, basically 9 out of 10, Cardinals are 4 of 10, you're saying, bitch, that's swapping. That's not happening.
Yeah. No,
All right.
it's happening. It's happening. These Dodgers are not good. They're a 500 baseball team at best. And when the Giants get their head out of their ass, it's going to show how the Dodgers are just not that good, and they'll just slowly expand the lead back up again.
Well,
And
if the Giants win all
don't
9
think
games, that'll definitely do it.
Oh, hell yeah, that'd be nice. I mean, but they're not the Padres.
Yeah,
But
right.
if I think Miami's got it in the I think this is my scientific great baseball scout analysis. Miami's got the chutzpah to stay in it, and I think that they might push for the wild card. And St. Louis has just been there before, so I give them a little more credit. But I like Miami's chutzpah, so I think they'll get there.
So
And St. Louis is St. Louis.
Aside from 1987 and Candy Maldonado, the Giants have had incredible success against St. Louis, right?
Yeah.
We can all admit that. As of right now, that's where the playoffs stand. Cardinals coming to San Francisco to play in a wild card game. Now, if the Giants cannot overcome the Dodgers and the Cardinals stay in their current position, even if they flip-flop, one game, man. One game. We did it in Pittsburgh. It's been done before, but that sucks, doesn't it? I mean, one game.
See, I don't want to fall back on that this year.
No,
I was a ball
I
nerd.
don't.
2 years ago, I was a ball nerd. It's like you casually mentioned earlier, well, they could still win the wild card. No, there's 38 games left. They got to win the division.
I know,
The
it's
wild
one
card.
game.
It is, and Bum has shown he can be vulnerable in one game this year. I don't care how much of a John Wayne, Mr. Harley Davidson Marlboro man he is. Sometimes shit happens, and you ash on your jeans, and it totally screws it up. So, anything can happen. I don't want them to do that. I would absolutely hate that. They would beat St. Louis, though. I think. I think they would have the chance to do that. I think top to bottom, they're better team.
Just scary either way. In fact, one of the weeks that we were off, I was in St. Louis for a family reunion, and we actually got to tour Busch Stadium. I'd never been out there before. We went out on the field and the dugout, up in the press box. It was fantastic. That is a beautiful stadium, by the way, guys. It is fantastic. I've been to Camden Yards, obviously AT&T, Busch, Fenway, Petco, Seattle.
Well,
I heard a really nice stadium.
I heard Busch is really nice, but it's got like one real big drawback.
Man, what's that?
Cardinals fans.
So I went in with a giant.
I'm sorry,
shirt,
Slappy White. I'm sorry.
with a giant shirt and hat, and here's the people of St. Louis, right? Like the Midwest personalities. They give you a jab of like being a Giants fan, and then go, "Oh, but I still love you," right? I mean, it's a different part of the country. Where in LA they might actually shiv you. In St. Louis, they like give you a hug and they go, "Oh, I'm sorry that you're a Giants fan, but I love you." No, it was an incredible experience. Going up there, everybody else is in Cardinals gear because 90% of the tour are Cardinal fans.
Sure.
But it was fantastic. I mean, it really is a beautiful stadium. And back then, a lot of the Cardinal fans that were on the tour were asking the guide, "So you think they're going to win the Central?" And he's like, "Well, the Cubs are pretty far ahead." At the time, there was like 8 games, right? Not 12, like it is now or whatever. And he's like, "I think they can win the Central, but they got to go hot. But, I think they could win the wild card." Now, at that time, they were in their horrible, horrible streak. They were like 6, 7, 8 games back of the wild card. And it's incredible to think that. I was laughing at him at the time. I thought this was a year with Mike Matheny and company and injuries, they're just out of it. They're not going to be in it. They have gotten hot lately, and they're 1.5 games back of the Giants, guys.
Yeah. And 1.5 ahead of Miami for the last wild card.
So they have the second wild card locked up, and
they tied a major league record. They have 14 pinch hit home runs this year.
Oh,
sheesh!
I know that. Well,
isn't that ridiculous? They had 10 before the Giants had their first.
Yeah, when you put it that way, that's ridiculous.
That's totally ridiculous. But it's one of those things where, okay, they're hot in the second half. The Giants are cold in the second half. If they happen to meet, that's when things turn, right?
Yes.
That's baseball. So, anyway.
Well, that's the thing. Anything can happen in that one game. And, like, the really hot-ass team could get stopped by the cold team because of one or two plays because of an infield.
Baseball's so stupid. I mean, this whole wild card thing, we've all talked about this. And the Giants have benefited from it. But one game is stupid. It is so stupid because a college team has beaten a major league team in spring training. I mean, it happens, right? It doesn't mean that team's better, but it's the way it is. That's the way the playoffs are structured, and they want to add the excitement to baseball being like a do or die game. And
they're trying to make they were trying to make the one game playoff that was super exciting at the end of certain seasons where teams would be tied up and go, "Yep, let's just have that every season."
Yep.
Yeah.
This can't go wrong.
Yeah, this can't go wrong.
I mean, I got to be
Pittsburgh
honest.
disagrees.
I like
Pittsburgh
that.
Vehemently disagrees.
Yeah, but Pittsburgh's in it right now. They're 3.5 behind St. Louis, but they're 5 behind the Giants. Like, some teams feel like they're still in it. I think the Mets feel like they're still in it.
And even Colorado.
Yeah, they're 60 and 65. Well, they're fading a little bit.
They are, but they're thinking one streak and they could get back in it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's about it. That's the cutoff.
Yep. But I think the Giants, they've got what? It's sink or swim time. This is it. This is playoff baseball this week. Finally, I hope the people in Dodger Stadium are loud as all can be. I hope it's a good Giants Dodgers rivalry series.
Yeah, I mean, if the Giants sweep the Dodgers, they'll be up by 2 games. If they win 2 out of 3, they'll be tied. If they get swept, that's where it hurts. I mean, that's the only thing they have to avoid, because if they lose 2 out of 3, they only lose 1 game overall, and they'll be 2 games back. That's not insurmountable at all. But if they get swept, they'll be 4 games back with 34 to play, and that's not mathematically impossible. But that just can't happen.
Is it 99.9%?
No, but just saying. No, they just can't do that. So, because they'll have 6 games left. Obviously, they can make that up. But, yeah, this is it, guys. We got 38 games left. Not against the Dodgers. This is what it's supposed to be like, right? I mean,
yes.
We would all love a 10-game lead right now if they had been playing ball like they did in the first half, where Washington and Chicago and Texas and those teams are enjoying those kinds of leads. But we've seen teams like those fail in the first round. Absolutely
True.
Because they're used to that lead. They haven't been playing competitive ball. They haven't been pressured. They just go on cruise control. And there's something to be said about some teams who have that pressure all the way to the end. We've seen it with the Giants many times. They're 9-0 in their playoff series since 2010. 10-0 if we include the wild card game. It's incredible. Their success in the playoffs. When they are pressured, they do it. And that doesn't even include the San Diego series with the Jonathan Sanchez start at the end of the 2010 season. Those kinds of things. This team somehow, at least until we're proven wrong over the last 6 years, has had the gumption to do what they've done. So I think fans out there, you just got to believe that this team is going to do it until they don't. And when they don't, then you can start questioning it. But until then, I think you just got to say, okay, well, these guys they just seem to know what to do. So, or they're incredibly lucky.
I got to say, if there is a position that I like being in against the Dodgers by the end of the year for narrative purposes, where I get really engaged by and excited about games. It's those moments where you can really get into a Dodgers series. I'm not even talking division, but a Dodgers series, and you have your destiny in your hands. Or, well, the players do. Like, I can't do a damn thing to affect that game myself
You can
individually.
play Destiny, but
I can play Destiny. I haven't in like months. But anyway, um, the thing about facing the Dodgers when the division is so close is that every game is directly going to affect your standing. You're not going to get out of it and say, "All right, well, and now we swept that series and we're in striking range, guys." You know, you come out of that and you go, "We will be ahead, or we will be behind, or we will maybe be tied." Based on how we do in this series, and those
every
games
game
get
is a 2-game swing. Yeah.
right. Those games are so like tense and engaging and crazy, and I'm really bummed that I'll be at work for some of those. Yeah. So like they're so much more exciting this way. And so even though if you ask me as a rational, logical fan, where would you rather be at this point? The answer is doing what the Cubs are doing. Um, that's inevitably where I would probably rather
Inevitably,
be
we would all love
for
that, but
for my own heart rate.
there's
But
something almost like
as
cathartic about
right.
what's going on right now.
Well, and when you get down to it, like, why is it that I like wrestling? It's not for massive dudes that look like somebody took an action figure and put it in the Indian in the cupboard thing and then grew him to full size. I like wrestling because of story and characters and personalities and getting engaged in things and being emotionally invested in them. That's what happens when the Giants and the Dodgers series are so tight, except that nobody's writing the ending, and that makes it even better. So, I mean, I'm really looking forward to this Dodgers series. I will be looking forward to it less if we lose them all, but I am absolutely looking forward to this Dodgers series because it's going to be gripping and it's going to matter. And the best times we have against the Dodgers are when the rivalry matters, and that's awesome.
Hey,
Yeah.
Ben, that was a great poll with the Indian in the cupboard. That was fantastic.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you. I had to do something to offset all the Will Smith puns. I mean,
I love that. Well, I can't help myself.
It happens. All right, so I think
But that's the thing. They're
go ahead.
not. Well, I was gonna say that's the like fans seem to be acting like they're 8 games back. We need to just kick back, enjoy the ride, enjoy what Dodgers Giants gives us, enjoy what a pennant race gives us, and not necessarily pick apart every little. I know we're a podcast and that's literally what we do, but not pick apart every single facet of it and just kind of enjoy the drama and the real. That's why I say baseball is the greatest theater. Ben, you were saying it exactly. Baseball is the greatest theater because you literally never know what the ending is going to be. And now's our time to just sit back and enjoy it instead of really sweating over it.
yeah, that's I mean, you can sweat over it in the sense that baseball always will like make
Right,
you worry a little bit. But like there's no we're still not at a point where we really need to panic. And that's because the team was so good in the first half that there was a certain amount of survival built into the second half. We have used most of it up,
Yeah.
but we're not in like despair straits. It is
It's
crunch
on.
time. It is crunch
It's
time.
odd.
We need production, and we need to get work done, and we need to really put the nose to the grind. But that's because we are still really close, and there is still not even just a chance, there is a very good chance. And so looking at this one and saying this is going to be exciting is different from looking at this and going, all right, beat a guy while he's down, why don't you? Like, it's not like we're like 10 games behind here.
Yeah.
So but when you have been spending the whole season writing 6.5 games up, it is really hard to adjust to, okay, well, we're screwed. We're not, but it's so easy to fall into the trap of saying we're doing really badly and everything is awful forever. It's not. And if you're going to have to find a
perception
silver
is
lining,
different because if you flip the season and the Giants were actually down by 7.5 games
sure.
At one point, and then now they're just 1 game back, Giants fans would be more than excited right now.
Right.
But it's the fact that we were up as much as 6.5 at the break, and now down by 1. So I think it's that perception And the season, it's a marathon. And I think everybody, like you said, needs to realize that. We're still in striking distance, and, 20 teams, like 2/3 of the league, they pretty much, their season's over already. And yet we're still here talking about this. And that's why we love to do this podcast. I mean, this team is so good, has been so good for the last 5-6 years. And, you just got to believe even your magic, I guess. I mean, until it runs out, right? Until an even year does not work out, you got to believe in it.
Can I throw a suggestion out there? Can we bring back an old segment that we haven't used in just a little bit? And can we just go through why we'll win it all? Because it's been a minute, and I feel like we have ended on a sufficiently good note that I actually feel relatively good about the team's chances, and I wasn't sure that was true going into the podcast. So I like this.
I have that effect on people.
You really do. I really wish everyone had gotten to hear the lost podcast, the lost episode, because Eric was on an optimism rampage. It wasn't
good.
It wasn't me last time. But Eric, Captain Optimism, why will we win it all?
Talent mixed with Bochy. I've said it since the year started that I think that this is the most talented Giants team they've had during this run, and I think they've actually gotten more talented with the addition of Matt Moore. So I think talent mixed with Bochy, with a sprinkle in a little health, because if they don't stay healthy. But we're being positive. So talent and Bochy, because Bochy knows what to do with talent.
Yeah, I can get by with that. How about you, Chad?
So aside from, winning 6 out of 9 from LA, I think it's going to require the new guys to not only have a little bit of a cohesion, they got to coalesce and actually perform as though we thought they were going to do. This is Matt Moore going on a 3 or 4 start epic streak. Will Smith performing like Jeremy Affeldt from 2010 and 12. It's these guys coming together and not having the same spotty record as what we've been talking about tonight, where we're good in one end, but just not good enough on the other end, and we lose by 1 run. It's going to be domination. It's going to be shutting the bad teams down. It's going to be having a good home record. I mean, my God, they were 3-7 in the homestand. I mean, that cannot happen if they're going to win it all. So I think things are going to come together. I think they've passed the big storms. I think they're through the hurricane. They're on the other side. And they just cannot continue to be as bad as they have been. And I think a rebound is coming. And I think that's the reason they're going to do it.
I hope they don't perfect storm it.
Wee! Oh, wait, we're
Well,
going
you're talking
backwards.
about going through the storm, so I thought of that one first, which really sucked.
Don't
Fair
want to
enough.
go upside down in a boat. I get it, but
Right, not great. I'm going to go ahead and say it's an old standard, but it's an important old standard. It's going to be the Killer Peas. It's going to be even Pagan right now is going to matter in why we can win it all. It's going to be Posey. It's going to be Pagan. It's going to be Pence figuring out how to contribute even when playing the way he is right now. And honorary APs, Pa Crawford and Pa Belt are also going to matter a lot. As well as Joe Panic. I think that it's going to be that key, that top part of the lineup. Whoever's in there on any given day, whether it's Nunez at 2, whether it's Panic at 2, whether it's Pagan at 2, it's going to be on those guys to get that keep the wheel rolling mentality. If they're not going to hit a bunch of home runs the way they were doing in the first half, they've got to keep the line moving, and they've got to be able to string some hits together finally. Because what we're seeing is that you're getting we'll match up with a team in the hit column, and we're scattering them. And so it's going to be up to those guys at that top of that lineup to string it together, to put a bunch of hits together consecutively, to get on base however you got to for the next guy. And I think that is what's going to finally get us going.
I'm feeling positive, guys.
Well, it's good because I mean it's been hard. Like it's not
We
easy
need
to be
some good
positive
karma.
about this.
I know.
Yep.
It's
Yeah.
not like they've been kind of bad. They've been the worst. The
Right,
worst.
they have, but I
Quite
mean they're not
genuinely bad.
right. They're not overall bad. Like we all have crappy days at work. They just happen to have a lot of crappy days at work in a row.
Yep. All right.
And now
you're
they're not
right.
getting a raise. So
No, they're just gonna get bonuses at the end of the year for coming through like a champ.
they work for the government. That's why. So. All right, so that's going to do it for episode 110 of the TortureCast. You can follow us on Facebook at TortureCast or on Twitter at TortureCast. You can also follow us individually. Myself, I'm at ChadK21. Ben is at Fried Duck. Still don't know where that comes from. Follow Eric at 2 Out Hits. That's with the number 2. And for the absent Willie, at Willie Dills. So for Chad, for Ben, for Eric, and Willie, we're signing off for episode 110. We'll see you next week for episode 111. Hopefully the Giants will be in first place and have swept the Dodgers by then. Boom.
Too sweet, boys.
A big thank you to everybody for listening to the TortureCast, the podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. Follow us on Twitter at TortureCast. You can also like us on Facebook or check out our blog at TortureCast.com. I also want to say thank you to Ashcon and Bailey for letting us use their song Feeling Like a Giant for our intro. For Ben Lee and Chad King, my name is Willie Dills saying, we'll see you next time.